Liberal Currents presents Half the Answer with your hosts, Caitlin M. Green and Trent R. Nelson.
Happy days are here again. Well, you know that understanding a question is half of an answer, and this is, of course, half the answer. Host Trent R. Nelson and Caitlin M. Green, and, well, you know what we get up to here. Caitlin's she's a writer, she's an editor, she's a linguist, she's a mom, and she's doing something else today. I'm a writer, editor, do many other things, historian, philosopher, etc., etc. Well, Caitlin, let's just add field reporter to the list.
Why not?
What did you get up to this week?
Well, as you know, I am a resident of Portland, Oregon, and Portland, Oregon has been getting some attention lately because of our activities down at the ice facility in the southern end of the city. So I went down there. I went down there a few times, actually, because I wanted to see what it's like at different times.
Yeah.
And in my exploits in the city of Portland, I ran across a very interesting character. And I interviewed him because he's a great representative, I think, of the cause, and he had a lot to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a really interesting discussion that you two had. We're going to get to that here in just a spell. You won't have to suffer me much of this episode, but Caitlin.
Oh, no. They'll miss you.
I'm sure. Across those different times that you were down at the ice facility, what did you notice leading into this discussion, which is very full of ambiance, very rich, full
sorry
environment.
For the sound quality. I brought my $20 microphone down there and I tried to get it done, and it, boy, there were some sound problems, but we did our best. But you know what I noticed, and what Jack actually verified for me, because obviously he's there way more than me, was that the day has a rhythm, and it's very different in the different parts of the day. And so early morning, it is so quiet. There's not a lot of people around. It's mostly the ice facility, waking up for the morning, the agents driving their cars out of the gates so they can go do raids in the Portland area. And then the legal assistants that are there, it's mostly this thing called the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. They're out there in these really big, bright orange t-shirts that say "Know Your Right," or the same thing in Spanish. And they are there to make note of who goes into the facility for their appointments and how many of those people come out, because it's not always the same number of people. And they're also there to help people get connected with legal assistance, and just keep them company. Because if your person has an appointment inside and you don't, you just have to stand out there and worry, basically. So they're out there doing that. There's clergy out there doing the same kind of thing,
Sounds absolutely terrifying. And
you should be really scared.
That is something that you kind of feel across the discussion with Jack, is sort of like the rhythm, as you're noting, right? Has it it changes across the interview, and of course there's some interesting bit about perhaps the president is seeing all of the boarded up buildings literally right there, because those are the only boarded up buildings in the city.
It's only the facility. There's no other boards anywhere. There's businesses next door that don't have any boards up. There's apartment buildings across the street, no boards. The building that's across the street is one of those cinder block warehouses. It has no need for boards because it's made out of cement.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very silly. I think the thing that people get most freaked out about is something that if you live in a city, you just have to learn how to live with, which is that there might be some people sleeping rough. Go, there's an encampment, which is essentially a couple of tents and cots, some tables with snacks, waters, coolers, a rack of inflatable costumes. And inside of the tents, there were people sleeping, partly to keep that stuff from getting stolen, right? And I walked right through it. I filmed myself walking through it to show that I don't even feel like I need to like keep my wits about me walking through here. Like this is just a sidewalk. And
Right.
they've actually put like duct tape along the sides of the sidewalk so that they don't let their snack piles like pour out onto where people need to walk. Like it's clear that they're being pretty conscientious about this stuff.
Right, right, and you bring up during the discussion that Andy No sort of tries to demonize
Mhm.
these tent operations as being nefarious.
Yeah.
Where in fact, I'll quote from the upcoming interview: "It's snackies, right?
It is. It's snack
You
packs.
water, I
Yeah.
mean, these are supplies for each and every person who decides to go out there, and Jack really explains it really interestingly about who does come out there, as well as like
Yeah.
maybe what some of the theatrics are for. Maybe
Yeah.
talking about the vehicles coming out. That was a great question you brought up, as well as the sort of like residual effects of tear gas, pepper spray, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I told him I'd look it up because he was getting a little nervous about his own health. He's a 26-year-old guy. He's like young, pretty healthy, but he does feel like after months and months of like every few nights having to breathe in pepper balls and tear gas. And he's right to worry because there are long-term effects. It causes liver damage. Like you have to be careful. I see him out there wearing a gas mask sometimes, but not everybody's wearing them. He's not wearing them all the time. My mom is really stressed for him. She was like, tell him he needs to wear a gas mask more often.
Shut up,
um,
mom. Yeah,
and I
it's
agree,
terrible.
Jack, wear your gas mask.
Wear your gas mask. It's good for you and for your future. Absolutely.
Yeah, I worried about him. I worry about all of them. I worry about the people who live across the street. Those are families. Some of them have kids. They said that it gets into their hallways. It's not great. And it's completely unnecessary. There's never been a time when the tear gas was necessary.
No, no. And again, a lot of it, we can suspect might be for trying to get the protesters to seem as though they're being worse than they are or more
That's right.
aggressive than they are. Maybe some pictures and photo opportunities, as this is the
Yeah.
meme presidency, right?
Yeah. And there's always a guy among the DHS officers that has a camera going. Like he's always doing that. And so like it is clear that this is a building that has multiple purposes. Right? It is a processing facility. So like people who get got on the raids, they have a stop here to get processed and so they can figure out where they're going to send them. People who are in the immigration process and need to do their regular interviews on their way to getting either a green card or a visa or they probably have a visa, but to get their paperwork done, like
Right.
they're going there for their appointed times. And then propaganda generation for sure. And the testing ground thing, right? Where Trump was like, we're going to use Portland as a testing ground. Jack said, absolutely, they're doing that. You can
Yeah.
see. And in fact, he was like, watch out for when there's unfamiliar faces because that's when things start to really pop off. And it happened last night. People started to notice, like, I've never seen that guy before. I don't know where he's from. Boom, pepper balls. Like, it was like so easy because they want to practice dealing with an escalated situation. How do you get it to escalate? The protesters are not helping, so you have to make it happen.
Right, right. Because I mean, again, Jack notes that you're getting civil disobedience, but not to the degree that would
No,
necessitate, driving out in groups together or shooting pepper balls at people. It just seems
right.
like a chance to foment and a chance to be aggressive.
And to film, get a good film going. And then the other thing is, this is where the sort of mainstream media sometimes helps participate in the propaganda, which is when you see a story about like a fight breaking out or somebody getting arrested or some kind of event that happens down at the ICE facility, there's usually a sentence that is like, to date, there have been 55 arrests. As of right now, it's 55. That's the number that I have. To date, there have been 55 arrests of like people around at and around the ICE facility. And they never explain that almost none of those arrests turn into anything. It is they grab somebody, they
Right.
stick them inside for about an hour, and then that person comes sauntering out with either a citation or a court date or absolutely nothing because they could not get them on anything.
But this is what we spoke about with Jacqueline Sweet, no? This
Mhm,
sort of
exactly.
we report it, and then everyone sees, oh, there's crime, but then the follow up is never like, oh yeah, he was acquitted, or
Yeah.
oh, like they
Right.
decided to drop the charges, or
No.
like he was innocent, right? It's never any of those things.
Yeah. And it's a lot of it is because either there's no evidence about who instigated a conflict or it was the officers who instigated the conflict. Like
Right.
there's a lot of examples of they come out the door, they're walking forwards, they're saying get out of the way, get out of the way. People are backing up because they don't want to take their eyes off of the officers. And
Right.
if they're not fast enough, they might get shoved by an officer. And then maybe they shove back, maybe they don't, or maybe somebody falls down and that looks like a scuffle. Like
Right.
it's very chaotic actually.
Right, absolutely. And again, the whole interview sort of encapsulates what it's like being there. And let's talk about some of the other folks who joined you guys across the discussion.
Yeah, we had
Um,
company.
you had company. Who else was there, Caitlin? And I mean, our listeners will get to hear some of the
You'll
discussion as
hear.
well. But uh, sort of paint that picture, because again, as
Yeah.
the discussion kind of goes through, it sort of becomes clear that pretty chill vibes.
Yeah, so we were sitting on like kind of a gravel patch off of the sidewalk right across the street from the ice facility because we wanted to have eyes on it. For me, and I think for everybody that I've talked to basically has expressed the same feeling of like I honestly feel a little anxious if I'm not looking at the building. Like it just feels better to be able to tell what is going on than
Right,
not to. And so like I was like, well, we can just sit here then and we can just look at it because that was how I was feeling. And I think
right.
it was nice. So we were sitting there on the ground and eventually in front of us there were a bunch of old ladies with camping chairs and knitting supplies who sat down and started knitting. I should have turned the camera around because one of them had like a green like square knitted hat with googly eyes on it. She was like a little frog. And then there was another one that had like a really nice pattern with frogs on it. So like yeah, I complimented her hat and then her friend was like, "Oh my god, she makes like a hat a day. She's so fast." She's like always got a different hat. So these are expert knitters, but they're very encouraging of novices if you want to come by and learn a little bit from them. They're very sweet. Next to them was he's become known as like the Portland Ice Bob Ross. He's got a lovely one of those like wooden easel sets with like your materials are in the box and then you set it up and your painting
Yeah.
is there. He's been working on different paintings of what's going on the block over time, and sometimes he does wear a curly wig so he looks like Bob Ross. It's very cute. And with him came another painter who she was armed with mini muffins. She had like 2 trays of mini muffins with her. So that was the vibe. That's the vibe in the area.
That's the vibe in the area. When the president asks, am I seeing something different than what is going on? The answer is the affirmative.
Well, are you
Yes.
seeing mini muffins? Because that's what there are. Are you seeing like I couldn't believe the apartment buildings across the street. It's all glass. It's glass windows and glass doors. Um, and like if anything was going to get boarded up, you would think it would be all of that glass,
Right,
and yet nothing. And that the corner where that is, that's where like the salsa party happens. That's
right.
where the music often is. Like people have speakers there and stuff. So like it's not like it's tucked away. It's like very exposed, and they don't feel the need to board up. Weird.
Well, they probably know better than Fox News pundits, methinks.
Yeah.
Really, really
So,
a good discussion.
yeah, I thought so too. I think like one of the things is it's okay to be realistic about there is chaos at night. There, it
Right.
happens, right? But it is not coming from the protesters. Uh, Even if they're being verbally aggressive, that does not justify
No.
what is very apparent from the footage and from my own eyewitness account, which is that periodically they will just grab somebody, manhandle them, drag them back inside the facility, and nobody knows why. Like, nobody can come up with a, like, oh, of course they were doing this. Like, they just do it. And they shoot the pepper balls, again, completely unprompted. They send out the tear gas, not for any actual like tactical reason, but just because it looks cool, or they don't like how many people are there and they want them to disperse, reasons that are truly not justified for a chemical that is dangerous to people's health.
Right.
So yeah, there's chaos, there's violence. Guess who it's coming from? It's coming from the feds. The other thing was, there were cops everywhere. I see cops every time I go there. It's the city cops. Like, they're there. They're keeping the peace in whatever capacity they're
Right.
like you would expect city cops to do. They are playing good cop, right? They're like generally fairly low key, but they will always come when the feds call. They will always come when the like far right, quote unquote journalists call. And Jack confirmed for me, Katie Davis Court was like, I got hit with this flagpole. I called and called and nobody came. And Jack was like, how could they come? They're here already. Come from where?
He did make note that they are all over, whether it be on bicycles, in
Mhm.
vehicles, there at the
They
scene or
create a
parked down the
perimeter around
street.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I watched that guy Tommy Austin, he's stuck 200 feet away from the facility. I watched him like run away after having shoved or punched somebody, only to be met with that ring of cops, because they truly do, like, they create a perimeter and then they'll just like converge if anything weird is going on. So they in fact did do that. And I don't know, but I think that might have been the incident that precipitated his 200-foot
Right.
order, which he's very mad about. He has a lot of slurs to say about it.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's rich with slurs.
Yeah. Jack and I didn't really talk about the like far right agitator angle very much. I feel like he's a very positive person and he really just wanted to talk about like the cause and the culture
Yeah.
and stuff. And that was nice. I liked that.
Yeah, I thought that it was really positive discussion, and you can tell the thoughtfulness as well as the
Yeah.
frustration. This is a person who does this often, is there all the
Mhm.
time, and clearly um, feels violated in various ways by
Yeah.
how the government is treating not only the people that are going in and out, and you can see during the interview, Jack gets like caught looking at somebody going in, and
Mhm.
he is like heartbroken, you
It
know
feels
uh,
bad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then actually last night somebody got taken out of the facility in an ambulance and we still don't know if they're okay. Some detainee, they're at the hospital, but we don't really know anything about it cuz we don't have access to their family.
right,
So, just thinking about the things that happen inside of that facility, it is a black box. We just don't know. And it is it does weigh on the heart, right? It's
yeah.
again that anxiety about like I can't see what you're doing in there. I want to
Mm.
see. I want to know.
Mm, yeah, and those types of places, they're designed to take that from the people that they bring in, right?
Mhm.
So, no windows so that you cannot tell what time of day it is, no clocks so that you cannot know what time it is. It's a
Mhm.
natural human desire once we're within civilization to be looking for the time as a reference, and
Yeah.
they know that too. And these are
Mhm.
all things meant to disorient
Right.
individuals.
So this place is really supposed to be just for interviews and for processing, which means that a person is not supposed to be detained in there for more than 12 hours. They're supposed to go somewhere else. The Portland ICE facility has violated that over and over and over again. And that's why the city council is trying to revoke their land use agreement.
Right.
Jack was not hopeful about that, which is too bad.
He was
I
not.
guess bureaucracy may not save us this time, Trent. I don't know. I had to ask. I was like, could this happen? You know, he's like, probably not. So yeah, that's very frustrating. And like people ask a lot, you know, I talked to some people who do the live streams out there who just like, they just film the facility or the street. Just so that people can check in anytime they want, basically. And
Yeah.
they get a lot of comments that are like, why are you even doing this? Like, what do you think you're achieving? And I think there's a few different things that are being achieved by this. I think it's always useful to tell an authoritarian group, you know, an authoritarian government, that the people are not behind them and that the people are willing to put their bodies places because of that feeling.
Right.
I think
Absolutely.
it's useful to be informing people, to be deflating the propaganda. Jack felt like it is happening. Like people understand that Portland is not deserving of the kind of out of control response that they're getting from the feds. And I also noticed that a lot of the people there are also doing something, like there's somebody who sits out there and they write down every make, model, color, and license plate, if they have one, of a vehicle leaving the ICE facility.
Right.
And then they have it on a database. They have a website that's called like ICE Cars of Portland or something. I'll put it in the description. But it, you know, there's like all this documentation that's happening that I think is really important and even useful for
Yeah.
people on the ground to protect themselves.
Yeah, and I mean that really brings us to the point of folks like Jack and folks like those, you know, live streaming, right? A lot of people are putting in a lot of effort to try to maintain this communal outreach and outlook for one another, and that is really, I think, one of the big things that folks should try to take away from this discussion for our own communities is, you know, how can we be present for each other all the time? Because there are a lot of
Yeah.
people doing a lot of work for nothing, just because it is the right thing to do. And
And
that's,
if you can't like be there protesting, that's completely fine. I can't be there a lot of the time. If you can't take shifts with PERC or whoever, whatever organizations, that's fine too. But there are little things that you can do. So like when I'm there, I'm bringing coffee to the PERC people. I am supplying little toys for the children to hold on to while they're waiting for their appointments. So they have something to like think about that's not, is my family going to be okay? They said there's all kinds of little things that you can do that, like, even if you can't be consistently showing up, you can be providing a little bit of support. And that's everything.
yeah, absolutely. All right, Caitlin. Well, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's get into it. Please enjoy our my interview with Jack, the Chicken Man of Portland. He was not in his chicken uniform at this time because it was 9 a.m. I understand. So, you know, and I wasn't in my inflatable unicorn costume. We were just being normal people sitting on the ground in front of a place where untold horrors happen. So this is Caitlin Green coming to you live. It is October 23rd. Spooky season is upon us. I'm outside of the ICE facility. It's the spookiest place I can really think of in Portland.
Future Spirit Halloween.
Oh yeah, inshallah, right? So I'm here with Jack Dickinson, who you might know better as the Portland chicken soup guy. How do you feel having that be like your legacy?
It's weird. You know, it's not like I had an idea of what my competing claim to fame would be. It is not how I expected 2025
Right.
to go, though.
Okay, it wasn't like this or the Nobel Prize for Medicine or something.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was on the short list for that one.
Okay, well, you know, give it time.
The frog, I think, is a case for the Peace Prize, so that would be, we'll see.
That's true,
Part-time
although,
person of the year.
yeah, you really have my heart first, though, because you've been around since February, right?
Yeah, so I started over, because we have a Tesla building right next to here, and that's where I started protesting. And then, you know, being on site here naturally, I just those took off and the Tesla ones came
Right. So
here.
Tesla's like, where is it? Around the corner
You
now?
can see it right there.
Oh boy.
Or you,
Wow.
you might be blocked on the
Yeah,
but
but on the other side of the
it's
fence.
literally the next door building. It's the same landowner, the piece of shit Stuart Lindquist.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow. So okay. So we have. Does he live here in Portland, or is he just like a
Lindquist?
national?
yeah, he built a giant mansion here.
So cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm new to the area.
No,
so
you're
I
good.
still
I know some about it, not an incredible amount.
So what was it that got you out to Tesla to start with?
I was just, I was looking for more ways to get involved and sort of break out of the weakness and the sort of despair, especially of those. Honestly, the despair was the worst in that waiting period between the election and the inauguration.
Yeah.
And then maybe for like a couple weeks as we saw how fast things were going to be moving. But Elon really was the figure of those first 50 months, or 50 days.
Yeah.
I think with like a president, even if we knew how bad it was going to be, they have this honeymoon period. But what Elon was doing was so out there in public that it sort of felt like an okay on-ramp for people to get into protesting.
He's also just like such a dick.
He's such a dick. And, it was... You could get a lot of that creativity. We also, there were people that were showing up like within the first 2 weeks that were already being affected by things that he was doing. So not only was it people showing up because it was sort of a place to be for protest, but people were personally pissed off about what was happening. We also had an indivisible organizer that started putting together these events on Monday down at the building, and that started drawing a lot of people. And we had 400 people back in February and March.
That's incredible. So you took to the streets. I wrote a Moby song. Like we all did something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then you came over to the ICE facility. Was it a group of you that were like, let's do both?
No, that's a good question. I think what I latched onto and what someone else that was organizing with me, I ended up getting involved more in the organizational process for the Tesla Purpose, and someone else that was organizing with me, we both were really drawn to this location because of the two buildings being right next to each other. And this sort of way that it illustrated, like, we thought there was a good way to pitch the whole, we're fighting fascism and oligarchy right now, like, we need to be addressing these issues. So we got sort of involved planning like dual protests. We turned our Tesla takedowns into Tesla and ICE. But what ended up, I think, happening was I got connected with some organizers for groups that were doing work primarily in the ICE buildings. So there's one group called Dickinson was a group that has been doing a lot of work down here, and I think it was the place that had the urgent need, because I think the Tesla purpose really worked, but you're not really going to be speaking to people in power just outside of the church.
Yeah.
Whereas here at the ICE building, you actually are. There's people that are relevant to this whole process that are located.
Yeah, so here is a facility where they're supposed to do like interviews and appointments, and they'll bring people here just to stage them, right? It's like maximum 12 hours.
Yeah, so it's a field office, and then we also kind of call it a processing facility. So yeah, there's two components to it. There's what's happening right now, and why we have all these people here in orange shirts is part of the immigration process is you have to go and check in with the government in various things, and that happens at this building. You see there's two people walking in right now. But we also have it serves as the staging ground and sort of hub of operations for the raids that are being conducted.
Yeah, so I try to come here at like different times of day to see what's
Yeah,
happening.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's very different at various points in the day.
I'm never here very late at night because I have little kids.
Yeah.
But basically, the thing that like really sends shivers down my spine is to watch cars drive out, and then it's essentially an on-ramp to a couple different highways over here. They could just go anywhere.
Well, yeah, and one of the big issues is it takes about 10, 15 minutes to get to Washington. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that the legal representatives and the organizations that are here are really relying on is the ability to get people before they cross state lines. Yeah. And that's a huge thing that they can try to solve. And we're seeing, so much of this is sort of coincidental or didn't have a control, but we are seeing, like, if Portland wasn't located so close to the Washington border, we might be having a different situation.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's maybe part of why the Portland facility in particular has a lot of attention. It feels like also people just really like to pay attention to Portland. I don't know if you found that vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. that does not come as a surprise. I mean, this is like, it's our biggest population hub. I mean, we see some protests in Eugene, which would be the other location that I think things would pop off. But no, we've just got people here, and I mean, this is a pretty egregious example of just an inability. The city council decision back in 2011 to approve this location for the use that it's having. I think it's just an example of complete lack of foresight on any of this. And I think what we're seeing here, protests against this, probably could be.
Yeah, this is the natural response, I think, to this kind of like overreach and cruelty. I was wondering if, since you've been here for a while, could you give me like an average 24-hour period at the site?
Sure. And, I'll caveat this with it has changed over the course of the last few months. Yeah. A typical day would be early in the morning. You'll see vehicles leaving the building going to conduct raids. They can conduct the raids relatively early in the morning. Then at around 7:30, you'll start to see legal advocates, a lot of clergy members. They'll show up to aid the people that are going in for employment. So getting them to know your rights information, getting them enrolled in programs so if they are detained, the actions filed on their behalf. And that'll be kind of the dynamic until about 12. The building will be open, cars will be going in and out, people will be going in and out. In the last, as Portland has regained the spotlight in the last month, there is some protest activity during that time, but for the most part, there's not. Then, as we start to transition into the afternoon, the number of appointments in the building goes down. They tend to get front-loaded in the morning, and so the perk and the emerge people, they take off, and we have a few people still trying to catalog and keep track of and handle your rights to the people going in and out, but it starts to flow a little bit more into people showing up in the protest activity. You might start to see a few inflatables. That's, kind of become the Portland MO. But you also will see just various showing up, sitting and observing. We see a lot of media now. Some people yelling at the building. And then as it progresses further into the night, you'll see the numbers pick up. And you'll see at about 3 o'clock, they'll bring a bunch of people in. Because a lot of the people that are here, they actually staff them at night. They're not out doing ice events, they're here at night because that's when the largest protest activities are. And you'll see a bunch of cars go in, and then the day shift will leave, and then the number of protesters outside start to pick up.
Yeah. And then it's a party.
Yeah. And there's various forms that party can take. Yeah. So, the number of people that are out here will vary, but oftentimes, it is kind of a little bit of a party atmosphere. There's music playing. There's people standing close to the building, yelling grievances, or whatever people choose to do.
Heckles sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the question that we really never have the answer to is our party going to be disrupted? Are they going to come out with pepper ball or gas?
Right. So about how often does that happen, that they start gassing
It's hard to, like a third of the time, maybe. On the weekends, it's almost a guarantee that it will happen, just because that's when there's larger numbers. And you might have a night where it's just like one person sits up on the wall, so they shoot some pepper balls.
What, like, because they're bored?
That does kind of seem, you get, one of the things that's been interesting over the past, 4 months. I remember, I think it was in the Quantico speech. Texas was talking about using the cities as training grounds.
Yes.
That has been happening here for months. Like, we've been seeing these new crews of people coming in. They'll bring them in for like 3 weeks, and it'll be this team from Texas, wherever. And they will be training. And so you'll see provocations, they will kind of escalate because they've decided, hey, we're going to practice a targeted arrest or, this sort of formation that we're going to push out with.
So you guys are like guinea pigs for them.
We really are. But they're also, I'll finish my thought. They're also kind of like guinea pigs for us. We're learning a lot about how they are going to act, and the actions of every single person in that building gives us an indication of how the larger philosophy of DHS and this administration is playing out. So we've learned a lot from them as well. But you'll see it too. You'll see it in that, like, when we get a new crew, you'll have a couple guys that are just itching to use it because it's this cool new toy that they've never actually gotten to use on people before. It really is for some of them, I think.
There's some children going in there really need to see that.
Yeah, fortunately, one of the really rough things that's happened over the course of the summer, and I haven't seen it that much lately, is they would have an evening where they would just be relentless in the number of pepper balls that they would deploy. And that, to me, the difference between that and the tear gas is the pepper balls just linger, right?
Yeah.
They're shot on the ground and there are these splotches and they stay. So what we would have is they would just like lay into us one night, and then the next morning there'd be these people that would show up for their appointments, and they'd just be coughing and sneezing because it's really,
still there.
really, yeah.
So that's part of what the water is used for, is to try to like calm it down.
Yeah, so you'll see a couple times the city has come and like done a full sweep, and we also have people that will go around with water bottles, and it doesn't diffuse. I think it just like quickly activates them, but then it's
That's awful. Yeah, I've also seen just like this whole street filled with gas. I'm not sure what kind of gas it is. It's usually a color that I'm like, it shouldn't be that color. And like that. But it like rises really high in the sky. You can't see through it.
Yeah.
And it's never clear to me what precipitated it. It sounds like it's just because they wanted to.
Yeah. So it's crowd dispersal. So like, I don't know what the pretext is they claim to use it, but
it's federal agents. So like normally I would be like, oh well, the cops declared an unlawful assembly, mumbled some words about you got to get out of here, and then started dispersing. Right? I'm not really sure what the procedure is for the DHS.
Yeah. I would be also interested to know what the procedure is.
Maybe we'll look it up and I'll put it in a bumper on this.
Yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't seem like it's grounded in any sort of realism outside of the fact that they know it makes the situation look chaotic. That's what the gas primarily, I think, does for them, is it creates these images.
I see a guy with his iPhone come out with them, right?
So that's been one of the things, especially as well. So if we go back to Labor Day, right? It was shortly after that Trump first mentioned Portland, right? He said, I saw, they were talking about where they were going to send them at, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, they were like floating ideas.
Floating ideas, and Trump goes, and I didn't even know this was still happening, but Portland, you should have seen what that looked like, right? And so I think they knew that they were going to come to Portland at some point and try what they're trying right now. And I think a lot of us knew that as well.
Yeah.
And I think what happened there was genuinely Trump saw something. There was, this Fox News report that I know mixed in footage from 2020.
That's right, yeah.
But I think what then they realized is, okay, we're going to go to Portland, probably a little bit fast ahead of schedule than where they thought they were going to do it. And so there was this huge push to get footage. And to your point, what you would see is these lines of Asians come out, 40 of them, pulling the road, and then like professional videographers going behind, filming. They would back up, and as they were getting close to the gate, one of them would drop a smoke canister at their feet so they could get the images of them walking back through the smoke.
Wow.
And then the most egregious one to me was the journalists they would invite up onto the roof.
Yeah.
We had Katie Davis Court up there. We had Nick Sorter up there. It's like one of the things that's been so interesting is I've never been in a situation where I've seen the sausage of propaganda being made so clearly, and that is so clearly what is happening.
I think what's really valuable is that your body was physically here so you could see the context of what was happening. From that guy's camera, it looks truly like a hellscape. It is all on fire. Everything is a nightmare, and they're like under attack, right? But if you're a few steps back, what are you really seeing? It's just like right here.
Yeah. The other thing was, there was a comment that Trump said, which was, they don't even have stores anymore. They're boarding up.
Yeah.
Right? And what I've been trying to figure out is, what is he seeing? Because this seems like stuff that he's actually seeing.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's just this building, because this is like the only building that's boarded up in the city right now. Or is it like AI?
Yeah.
It's tough to tell.
So what's so funny is, there's the ICE building. It's got boards on the front-facing areas, and also inside too.
We never know why they did.
Like behind the gate, they boarded things up. Weird. Yeah. But then there's the South Waterfront heated storage that's like kitty corner to us. They have a bunch of glass windows that are not boarded up. There's apartment buildings over here. They have a bunch of glass windows and doors that are not boarded up. I just got coffee right at All Your Heart Coffee, which is 2 blocks that way.
I'm gonna give a shout out to them. They've been super nice and good coffee.
Yeah, it is good coffee. They're very sweet over there.
Very nice.
And I just like grabbed some to give to the park people over there in the orange shirts, and then nothing's boarded up even directly across the street or alongside the same street. So I think it's either old footage from like downtown, or he's just making it up. Maybe he's just making it up. Maybe somebody told him something and he's like, well, what
we have right now really is, we have Greenville Worm Time, basically, whispering in on the ends. Right? Like, Stephen Miller is the one that's running this operation, at least on this side of things. He's got we've got the War Project 2025 side, but like, Trump is he's excited about his ballroom and prosecuting the people that went after him. He's not in charge of the operations. Right. But it's an interesting dynamic because everything has to get run through him. That's what's so interesting to me right now about like the Department of Homeland Security is it's run by Kristi Noem, but she's running it in a way that she thinks Trump wants it. It's this weird, like, double-layered sycophancy.
Right. She ultimately wants to please the king, right? And then also she's in contact with and working with all of these like influencers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we've had Nick Sorter out here. We've had Katie Davis Court. We've had Honey Badger Mom.
Yeah. Shelly.
Right. I never can remember her actual name.
It's okay. The Honey Badger one's one.
Yeah. Well, it feels like that was a popular meme. Like when I was in high school, I think, and then it's just like the only people who are still holding on to it are like her and Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, so the whole thing was like the Honey Badger is so relentless.
Yeah, Honey Badger don't give a shit. Honey Badger don't give a fuck. And it's like, it's an animal that will eat like venomous snakes.
Yeah,
because
that's
it doesn't react to the venom.
That's right.
So they're very tough, and we're very impressed with all of the toughness. She walks around with a bodyguard, right? Because she was assaulted, I heard.
Yeah.
What, I don't know. You can never tell.
Well, you know, I mean,
It's okay.
like, it's not that there's no danger to them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem if they want to bring a bodyguard. I have a problem when their bodyguard is there to like, basically. Because that's what we've seen from one of Katie's bodyguards pretty regularly. So, be aggressive.
Yeah, I can believe that they've had scuffles. I can't
Sure.
really say for sure who started it, but you know, I'm a mom. I'm like, I don't really care who started it. Let's try not to do it, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they are turning it into, you know, Katie had her bruise that she was really proud of. Of course, Jared and Michael are bruise truthers. I can't do it. I can't go down that road.
I will say that I am inclined to agree. Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
My bias is definitely on the side of Black and Pink.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will
Many people are saying.
abstain from an opinion from a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Because I cannot be unbiased in this matter. But
In my heart, I have to say I'm with you. I just like, I would feel so stupid if I was like, no, it didn't happen.
well, and that's the other thing is it's like one of the things, you know, if you make the whole debate, did Katie use makeup or not, that sort of creates this binary where if she's lying about it, then we're in the right, and if she did the black eye, then everything she's saying is moving.
Right.
And that's not the case. Like,
Yeah.
even in the instance that someone, you know, intentionally clocked her with the flagpole, which seems dubious.
Right.
Even in that instance, it doesn't justify any of the shit that she's doing.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And heading to the White House to do the little round table
Yep.
and just lying her butt off. My favorite
I
thing.
couldn't get through 15 minutes of it.
Oh, it was painful.
I had to go based off of other people's commentary.
I actually transcribed her whole statement because I couldn't do it. Because I'm a linguist, right? So I'm trained in ethnography, and I was like, I have to look at this in detail. But my favorite thing that she said was that they don't allow the police to come over here, like the Portland police. And like every time I'm here, they're also here.
So, yeah, I wish there was less police here.
Yeah.
It's just a freaking waste of our money.
Yeah. There's so many.
There's so many of them. So we'll have at least 4 liaison officers here, a bunch of bike cops, and then there'll be a ton of them staged a couple blocks over there.
Mm-hmm.
And Katie should know more than anyone else that the police will show up. It's because she calls them more than anyone else.
Yeah,
So,
but then she says they don't come.
yeah.
They only can't come because they're already here. So they'll hang out there. Sometimes they'll be on the median over there. Like I am always within about 15 feet of a cop when I'm here, so I'm not sure what she means.
Yeah. You know, it's what's a 7th lie when you've already lied 16, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea that the Portland Police Department is a wing of Antifa is such an absurd.
Well, because the chief of police told the truth about what's going on down here.
I mean, that's where we are at this point. It's like Antifa encompasses people who are living in reality. Like that's what seems to be the clearest moniker of that organization at this point. We call it.
So if you're hearing a bunch of hammers, it's because they're replacing the wood on the ice skating?
It looks like they might be removing some of it and only boarding up the windows. So there's kind of 2 things related to that. The first is the boards were actually part of the permit violation. So a couple weeks ago, or a little over a month ago at this point, the city finally issued a violation of their permits. They're not actually, this isn't federal property. The main thing that they were cited with is holding people for more than 12 hours. As I mentioned at the beginning, they're only allowed to hold people for 12 hours. They've done that. They've held people for more than that on multiple occasions. But the other thing that they were fined for was for boarding up, right? There was an article that I thought, kind of a good title, which was Portland resorts to what they know best to fight ICE. So,
Yeah.
and
Listen, we're a city. We're gonna do city stuff.
And so I think, I think this might be them trying to comply. But the other, sorry.
No, I love it. I want you to say what you know.
The other thing that is really interesting about this is, one thing you'll notice about the plywood is it was painted over red. That was to cover up graffiti. There was a fair bit of graffiti that was done on boards. And that was done just a couple weeks before the renewed intention. And to me, that was maybe the biggest mistake they could have made. Because on that Saturday that Trump put out the war-ravaged Portland, or the truth, or whatever.
The truth.
The truth, yes. What happened was, this was like 7 a.m. our time. So you had a bunch of media show up to try and get a lay of the situation. And it was a Saturday, so the building wasn't even operating.
Right.
And there were like 3 protesters.
Yeah. Because it's 7 in the morning.
Because it's 7 in the morning. Yeah. And what they could have had was, if there had been this arrival that had happened and the building was covered in graffiti, then that lends a little more credence to what they're saying. But they painted over it, and so that made the images like so much more benign.
Pristine, perfect condition building sits unmolested by 3 people in war-torn Portland. Yeah, that's troubling.
Yeah, well, you can see they're taking it down. So what I was wondering is, are they taking down the boards because they still have the graffiti underneath? But it looks like they're removing that as well.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I see a building that has this like beautiful plywood on the front, that's the canvas. It's hard not to paint that.
I know.
If I were more artistic, maybe. But yeah, I can see the graffiti starting to become revealed on the windows. But that should be easy to clean too. Like the boards feel so silly.
Yeah. I think there was one window broken back in June. That started all of it.
Oh dear. Lawlessness in the streets.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me a little something about this Antifa safe house that I'm hearing about? They're doing that radical militancy in there, I think.
Yeah, radical militancy, like learning how to apply a tourniquet and getting water or something.
There's a toilet in there.
There's a toilet in there. Yeah, that's the crucial. I mean, that's all I've ever really known it for. Was like, if you really need to go to the bathroom.
Is it just someone's apartment? You can use my place for this.
Yep.
That's what I guess, because I usually park right across from it. So I'm like, I think that's just an apartment.
Yeah, it's just an apartment, and it's interesting how much of a life that is taken on. Because it makes it seem like, they really have to stretch to make out Antifa to be this crazy network of organizations and people.
Oh, I also wanted to say, if you know whose apartment that is, I believe it is not legal to film into the windows. Nick Sorter did do that.
I saw that video last night of Nick doing that. Yeah. That definitely does not seem like something you're allowed to do.
No, you are not. I looked it up. I was like, that doesn't seem right. And it's not, right?
Yeah. I do know who it is. I'm sure they already know.
They probably are aware, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that has really covered our day-to-day experience. There's a couple of days where things get really big, right? Where there's like hundreds of people.
Sure. Yeah, so, I mean, sometimes that's related to a planned event. It's been a little more frequent in the last couple, in the last month, just because of how much attention there is in Portland right now and how much energy I think there is in the city for, I think there's a lot of people that live in Portland that are just pissed with how it continues to be categorized. And a lot of people who are pissed at what ICE is doing, but in some sense, to activate people, it needs to be personal for them. Mm-hmm. And then there's various blips on the radar. So, the kind of early one I remember having a huge turnout was when the big protests in LA were happening, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I can't remember exactly when. But we had a lot of solidarity events here, standing with LA. And then when we had No Kings, Good Trouble with On Day, John Lewis Day, that was a march to here. So yeah, you'll get these moments where the temperature's turned up a little bit and more people. And then you'll go back to a night where it's 20 people.
Yeah, I think the starkest contrast is from the 18th, the No Kings Saturday, to like that Sunday.
Yes. Yes. And granted, I think sometimes when you have one of those really big events, and they were ruthless in how much they gassed on the 18th, so like I was just in bed all day, like
For Sunday.
for Sunday, just because I was, I felt like shit from all the tear gas. So yeah, I think you had that, but yeah, you have a lot of times where from one day to the next, it is a very different situation.
Yeah, I wonder if a lot of people who would have been here on Sunday were still recovering.
Still recovering. I mean, and like for me, I was out at like, I started the day like protesting at like 9:30, right? Because we had a bunch of events here in Portland for the larger No King stuff, and so it was like 13 hours that day of just marching and walking.
Boy, my feet hurt a lot. I looked and I had done like 14,000 steps.
I think a lot of people that day set a new step limit, because I started at the convention center and then walked over to the waterfront and did the march for the waterfront and walked down here.
Yeah, across the river multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was very impressed, and then I realized the previous weekend I had been to see Chapel Roan in Pasadena, and I walked more for that actually. Although it does count dancing as walking, so maybe it wasn't as many like actual.
Yeah, that's curious. Like, if you're, is it the same calorie exertion like a step for a walk versus a step for, I don't know.
For like doing this, there wasn't much room in the crowd, so it was truly
It was
just
a-
like
yeah.
step. Yeah, this was it was a good weekend. I was very energized, but my children needed to go home, so I couldn't come to get gas. So I still don't actually know what it feels like to get tear gas. Do you think you could help our listeners understand the feeling?
It feels like stuff burning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really an irritant. And one of the things that I'm dealing with, having been out here for a while, is I have, I think, sustained some damage. So where it didn't used to earlier, like I could go for a little while before being really affected. I think I'm much more sensitive to being hit. I'm curious to see what the long-term effects will be on people's health.
I'll do some digging and find out if I can see anything from previous years.
Well, I know one of the questions that we have is exactly that. Like, what is this doing to people?
Right.
We really haven't had a full-on analysis as necessary.
What's your relationship like with the people who live in the apartments here?
It's a really interesting one. I've gotten the chance to talk to a lot of them. It is so for this building, it's a very difficult building. And there are many of them, all of them, they wish this would happen. I don't think anyone would have. I mean, I think there's some of us that are protesting that would like appreciate it to live so close because we can be down here all the time. But still, there's a thing, they don't really get a break from this. It goes back to something you were talking about a little while ago, which was sort of the natural response to the injustice. It's very easy to level blame at the protesters. But if we treat, as we should, protesting injustice as a natural response, then really the fault lies in the building. And the fault also lies in the ICE building for the majority of the damage that's being done.
Well, you're not coming out here with tear gas canisters.
Exactly. We're not coming out with tear gas canisters. We're not the ones sending that helicopter over the city. I can understand complaints that have been leveled about like noise after 10 p.m., but that's also a fault. I mean, they throw flashbangs and shit.
Yeah.
Mr. Eldorado
Wow. That's awful. Yeah, so I can see being frustrated, especially if you've got kids. I become enraged and evil if I think that like my kid's nap is getting interrupted. I can believe being frustrated, and the gas, like I would not want to be breathing that. But yeah, if they weren't here being the way that they are, that would not be happening, and I'm sure a lot of people understand that.
They do.
I'm also just so obsessed with just watching the game. Who are these two? They look so not fitted out.
Yeah, so these have, these are some of my, I've known these guys multiple months now. So this is a security team. They're not technically federal agents. They're tasked with doing the basic security. And early on, like, it's kind of just them and a couple of agents. I remember the first time, it might have been the first time this year that protesters were detained at this building. It was the first time that I saw it, the first time I heard. It was like those two all cops, basically. And then they had to call federal vehicles from the federal government. So during the day, they're the ones that like when people want to go.
Yeah. They do security guard stuff.
And one of them, has not worn a mask.
Wow.
And he's kind of a dick, but I'll give him a little bit of credit.
He's not hiding his face.
Yeah. What really bothers me, and I don't know if you've gotten the opportunity to see this, but one of them wears full gator mask.
Yeah.
Who is just so obsessed with not being seen as a bad person. He'll like be fisting kids as they're going into their appointments. It's like, okay, but like there's like a 5% chance or something they're going to be separated from their parents.
Yeah. Right. Like, are they going to have warm, fuzzy memories about that fist bump they got right before the worst day of their lives started?
Yeah, and
that's wild.
Yeah, this sort of desperation to have some sort of human moment connection while you're doing the most and refusing to show your face.
Yeah, that's actually, I feel like that does say a lot about the human condition, what it's like to be a person who's engaged in something that like your morals should stop you from doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so when you're out here in the evenings or the afternoons, right, and they do this thing that I don't really understand where like maybe cars are coming in or going out and they'll like have a bunch of them come out in a formation.
Yeah.
Like, what is all that about?
So they're what the sort of level one of that is they are cleared in driveways and that's, they'll form a channel for it. But I think really what it is, and sometimes that might be necessary if there's like hundreds of people here. But one of the things that you'll notice if you're down there, and I think it speaks largely to what's happening in Portland, is like people move out of the way. Yeah. They're the driveway will get cleared. There's not people like with the intention of doing civil disobedience with the intention of obstructing until they're forced to be detained. Right. It's a little bit of a performance. The reason I say that's emblematic of Portland as a whole is because this is an obvious battle. We see a very different situation in Chicago and now New York, it looks like, is really standing up. I'm hoping to see in Portland some more emphasis on like the Negro Watch stuff, where people will be going out into the community or trying to interact. Good. Yeah. Did you see the video? I think it was Chicago of the pointing the gun on the pregnant woman that was like following them.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. This is just no into it.
Yeah, I know there's been some. There's a couple people out in like Hillsborough who are trying to follow and like try to pen people in their parking spots and make noise and stuff. I think that's really good. Because like once they're in the car, it's really hard to keep them safe.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Horse coming. but not a real one.
No, we're bringing back old names here. That was definitely the worst one.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts about the inflatables, all the visuals that are coming out of Portland specifically? It seems like it's really taken off. We get to see them in Chicago now and LA and stuff.
I think it was a perfect counter to what they were doing. Because, and, again, I'll tie this back into something we were talking about earlier. I think they were holding on to Portland because they thought they'd get the exact same reaction that they did with Dickinson. And, one thing I'll say about 2020 is I wasn't involved then, but I am glad that Portland responded in some way. I think that was a real moment of reckoning with what this country is and what we stand for. And while, it wasn't great how that is, there were certain things about that win, I'm much more glad that Portland stood up and did something. And one of the things that it also set up, not intentionally, I don't think the people back then were planning this 5-year plan, but it gave the impression of how Portland would react, and it gave them the impression that they would have an easy win for the kind of imagery they're creating. And so they try and escalate here, they try and bring a bunch of things in, and then we counter it with this sort of Operation Inflation, right? This costume, tactical frivolity, joyous thing that I think has worked out really, really well for us. I don't think it means the inflatable approach is the approach for everywhere. I think what it is a testament to cities finding something they can be good at, recognizing how their situation is different than every other situation. Every city is going to have some circumstances that are different than everyone else's. Portland doesn't really have the capacity, I don't think, to fight back in the same sort of way that Chicago or New York are, just because we have fewer people.
This is a remarkably small city, and I forget that because I live here, but then I went to LA and I was like, oh no, this is so huge. This is the biggest city I've ever seen in my life. Because it is, I think, the largest city in America. And yeah, we have to find our personality, right? And lean into that. And yeah, how did it feel getting stared down by Kristi Noem in your chicken suit?
Yeah.
What did she say? Do better?
Yeah, she called me uneducated and, or she called all of us. I don't think she was. Yes, she told me do better.
Yeah.
And then she said we were all uneducated and ill-informed.
Right.
I couldn't tell if she was staring at me. Pretty far up. I am still baffled to no end that they uploaded it.
It was so embarrassing.
Has Benny Johnson just been an undercover Antifa this whole time and was playing for the long game to upload that video?
Oh my god, that's because he used to work at BuzzFeed, right? Maybe
he's the one who got fired for plagiarism. That's the other baffling thing to me is isn't that what BuzzFeed is? It's plagiarism.
Oh yeah, right. They just write about their stuff. Well, no, because apparently they had standards, and he got on those standards.
Yeah, it's so interesting that it was already so flawed that our system was so divided into a two-party system. But when one of those parties is just become the home for grifters, and if you get caught plagiarizing or committing sexual assault or whatever.
Love dance, right? So that's nice. Okay, so it's a motorized scooter with a speaker, just bungee corded to it. And that was Phil Collins, I think.
Sounded like it.
Oh yeah. A rubber mask. I've never been able to wear a rubber mask.
I haven't tried one of the inflatables yet, but
I've got one in my trunk if you'd like.
I have a Mike Wazowski that I need to bring down as a donation. I saw Mike Wazowski and a Sully the other day.
They have to go together, right? It's been my dream to have one of my kids be Boo and Mike and Sully, but instead this year we're They wanted to do Wicked, and I was like, oh, cool, there's lots of fun characters in Wicked. Like, somebody can be Elphaba, someone can be Glinda, that's cool. And my daughter was like, no, we're all for Glinda. So that's the plan.
Yeah, well, thankfully there's like, we only have 4 cardinal directions. We can't have any more.
No, that's right. There's enough costumes in that movie for there to be like 8 Glindas. So if anyone wants to join us, you can always be one of those other Glindas.
The Wicked Witch is Southwest.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's me. I'm from Arizona. And here we have some frog imagery. It's so nice. So here we have some people just in like camping chairs. They just sort of hang out.
Yeah,
The vibe is aggressively chill.
the vibe is so aggressively chill. And
Can I put it over here?
yeah, you have this. There's a Sunday event that's like tea and biscuits.
Someone was teaching crochet yesterday.
Teaching crochet. There's been some crochet for a while. There was a. It looked like
Oh,
a.
I see knitting needles.
It looked like a Zumba class or something. that
Oh,
came
it
out.
was like a salsa class.
It was
yeah.
a salsa class.
I really let myself down there. I like stood on the periphery and like nodded along and did not join in the actual dancing because of social anxiety. And so now I regret that.
Well, if you want to get over social anxiety, wear a chicken skin.
Yeah.
Because people won't believe this. I'm like an introvert. And I just
It's honestly a miracle that either one of us is here. Have you seen, I guess we've already really covered, you've seen unprovoked aggression off of these guys. It sometimes when I look at the videos from protesters, it is hard for me to tell what exactly happened. But the impression is that when they come out and they create that lane,
yeah.
they're basically walking out and they're telling people back up, back up, back up.
Yep.
People are walking backwards. Sometimes it feels like they get like a little bit aggressive with them when they're doing that process.
Who gets aggressive with you?
Well, verbally, I do hear a
Yeah.
lot of taunting.
Oh, absolutely.
But I feel like every once in a while, one of these DHS guys will like move in a way that I don't expect, and then somebody's on the ground, and I'm not really sure what
Oh,
happened.
yeah. Yeah, it's, there have been some pretty well documented, pretty egregious examples of entirely thinking about that 19-year-old woman getting maced in the face, the frog getting maced in its air vent, stuff
Which
like
didn't work, right?
No. I loved his quote. He was like, it just tasted like peppermint. I'm Mexican. I've had spice
No,
too.
right,
Stuff
okay.
like yeah. I have a video. This was a couple months ago, so it's from the spotlight. But I was just standing there on the sidewalk, really, really shoved right. So yeah, there will be instances where it is completely unprovoked. Sometimes it will be a really aggressive shove because somebody's backing up maybe a little slowly.
Almost like they're walking backwards and trying not to fall over. Just spitballing.
Yeah. And
Well, I see some tough guys doing tough guy stances there.
there's been a lot of tough guy stances.
There's a lot of wide, like feet wider than hip width, which doesn't, I don't know, seems unnecessary. A lot of holding onto this.
I know, it makes me, so I always see them holding on to their little vest packs. And to me, that indicates that they're just not fitted properly. But,
Yeah.
or do they not have pockets?
We do children's swim lessons where they like teach us how to put the life vest on correctly, and it's like an ill-fitting life vest, right? If it comes up around your ears, you gotta go smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wonder, one of the things that's going to be interesting is because their need to bring in more agents started like in June, right? So all these people that they've brought in from out of state have been dealing with a absolutely beautiful cold summer. This is like the best summer I think we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
It was not too hot. We didn't really have to deal with any serious wildfire smoke.
Yeah.
Like this was a perfect Portland summer. And then now they're gonna get to experience why it has a different impression for the weather.
Yeah.
And like the Texas National Guard, if they actually end up getting sent here, they're gonna be in for sociopaths that ever come. They set up these stupid. They lost. I think if they had any respect left, they lost it all when they put up these like little tents for like a sprinkle.
Yeah.
These tents that they put up on their half roof and their tents. Excuse me. Yeah.
That's not the pepper balls. That's just seasonal allergies.
It could be the pepper balls.
Oh no.
The residue stays a long time.
We have been sitting here for almost an hour, so.
And it sneaks up on you. That's one of the things that like is, I will have like a couple nights ago. I was down here starting at like 4 for a couple hours, and then I had to go meet up with a few people. And then, like in the course of driving over, I was like, "Holy crap! I don't know this stuff." Like it builds up because it's in the air and in the ground.
Yeah, so I have an allergy to marijuana smoke, and it feels like that almost, like where it just, you'll walk away and be like, oh, there it is. If I walk through like a cloud of it. Well, I think it's about time to wrap up. Is there anything else that you wish that people knew about the situation down here?
I can't think of anything specific. I'm sure there's stuff that I would like out, but I think we covered a lot of it. And I also think it feels like the truth about the situation is percolating and is reaching out more so than their lives. And that's, I think for a lot of us, there's been this discourse directed at the protesters of don't right?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good point, though I thought was very heavy-handed in how it was deployed.
Sure.
Like very, very sort of, you protesters don't know what you're doing, don't take the bait kind of thing. What's really happening actually is the DHS is taking it. The government is taking the bait. And what we really have right now is we've kind of trapped them. You hear about these military incursions into like some mountainous region in Iraq or whatever, right? Where thought it would be super easy, but then they kind of initiated the operation and then got trapped there because
facts on the ground were not what we thought.
That's exactly what's happening here. They were so confident, so sure that they would be able to instigate something. And I think they're scrambling right now because I think they probably thought they would have already had the riot they needed to declare the insurrection.
Right, but what we have is a block party, a music festival, a camp that has supplies. Andy Ngo keeps being like, oh, they're collecting riot gear, right? It's water bottles, it's hand warmers, it's masks, it's a couple of grills, it's snackies. Like, that's what we got.
Right, like Welch's fruit snacks are body armor, apparently.
Right. Yeah, well, there's a Costco to the north of us and a Costco to the south of us, so it's easy to get snacks.
Yeah. I wonder how long.
I think she is.
I wonder how long they'll keep trying this. I wonder if the grift will have to move to new locations.
I mean, yeah. Well, will the city eventually succeed in shutting them down?
No. I do think the city has finally woken up to see. I mean, it was a long fight to get about this. And they are on board. I do think, though, I think if they issue anything, I feel like the government would say that. But that doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. Just like, the National Guard, I'm fairly sure, I'm almost certain, is going to be here, regardless of what we do at some point.
Yeah, that's very fair.
And so the goal isn't necessarily going to be Like, the goal isn't necessarily just to get them to come. It's to highlight the absurdity.
Well, someone should set up an event to meet.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Is the activities here are simply so not threatening. It is just an expression of disapproval and of support for the people that are having to go inside there who are in danger.
And I mean, at this point, it's become
I have coffee too.
so they're actually, like, federal government's actually so far removed from reality. Like, any activity that is done down there, they're going to try and categorize as, the leftist Marxists,
The terrorists.
right? Whatever line they're trying to come out. And I think, we're seeing a lot of effectiveness from pain, dance, and whatnot. Like, we're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, there's a difference between taking the bait and rising to the occasion.
Absolutely.
I think this is rising to the occasion.
It is. And I think the worst, the fact, there was a lot of talk of, like, when the war room was created, you and Mr. Philip announced it was created. There was some discussion. I guess this is like online, but still, it's like, there should be, if nobody showed up, then that would be fighting. And that's not true, because then the story would have just fizzled.
Yeah, and they look at a pose.
And they look at the pose, and it's not raining. Frankly, that's just unreasonable to think.
No, I was here last night.
That's the other thing, is it's like, who do you think you're going to convince? You're going to convince anyone who's there to be, well reasoned, and anyone like what So,
Well, yeah, like no movement is ever going to succeed if it depends on perfect behavior by everybody.
absolutely. And I mean, even a movement that is, well organized and structured, and this is like a decent one.
Well, thank you for meeting me out here. This has been a true pleasure.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Yeah. And this has been, half the answer. Where no one to question whatever. Trent will do it. Trent, you do this thing. I'm not going to do it. I got to go.
Thanks for listening to Half the Answer, presented by Liberal Currents. You can find Half the Answer anywhere you get your podcasts. Liberal Currents is an entirely listener and subscriber-funded publication, which includes programs like Half the Answer and Neon Liberalism. So, if you like what you've heard and wish to contribute, you may do so at liberalcurrents.com and through Patreon. And remember, understanding a question is half the answer.